Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to another Audience Network webinar, which today will focus on best practices in gaming monetization. Before we get started, allow me to introduce myself and the team here. My name is Antonio. I am a Publisher Development Manager at Facebook, and with the Audience Network team, I've been working with gaming publishers across EMEA over the past 4 years now. And joining me today are my amazing and talented colleagues, Anala and Alistair. Say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. So Anala is a growth product marketing manager and has a key role in our organization of feeding market feedback to our product team and also in scaling adoption of products that we build and launch. And Alistair is a product solutions manager. He specializes in SDK and technical integrations and has been working with some of the top gaming publishers across EMEA over the past 2 years now. So after the main content is presented, there will be a Q&A section. So please send in your questions, and the three of us will do our best to answer to as many questions as we can. So before we dive in, I wanted to provide some context on why we believe that the way that you integrate ads into your game can have a significant impact on ad revenue. So CPMs and revenue can vary from game to game for various reasons, but at least with Audience Network, the two main factors to consider are the audience mix and the ad integration. For audience, the country mix of your players and demographics will have a big influence on your ad revenue. So as we know, some countries typically have more demand for ads, which will drive CPMs up, and also the age and gender of your players can have an influence on the type of ad demand that exists for your game and your audience. You can, of course, invest and tailor your user acquisition campaigns to target players from certain regions or certain profiles, but the organic audience of your game can be difficult to predict and control. Now, what you control 100% is the ad integration, the how and when ads are displayed, and the type of ads that you serve in your game will have a big impact on ads performance and revenue. So how do you know what ad formats you should integrate in your games and in what way? Unfortunately, there is no universal answer to this question, as every game experience is different, but what we would recommend is that when planning the ad integration, think about your players, their in-game journey, and how ads might affect, and hopefully in a positive way, the player experience and their enjoyment of the game. So at Facebook, we wanted to find out more on what gamers thought of some of the top ad formats. So we conducted a research study and tested 7 ad formats with gamers, and here you can see the results. So for these ad formats, the higher up they are on the image shown, the least disruptive they were found to be, and the further to the right, the higher the quality of the ad experience. So what stands out? So we have native and rewarded video on the top right corner, perceived to be the least disruptive and highest quality. And on the opposite side of the chart, we have interstitials, found to be very disruptive and offering the poorest ad experience. Interstitials, as we know, they do have a bit of a bad reputation in the market for being an intrusive ad format, but we believe that most of this negative perception is from misuse of the format, and I think we've all experienced some really bad integrations that may lead and explain this negative opinion. But we're going to address this interstitial format a few minutes from now. So today we are going to focus on these two ad formats, interstitials and rewarded video. I just wanted to make a side note that these are the two ad formats that we currently support on Instant Games. For mobile apps, in addition to interstitials and rewarded video, we also support banners and native ads. Due to time limitations today, we won't be able to cover these formats, but please visit the Audience Network website where you can find useful information and documentation on native ads and banners for mobile apps. Right, so let's turn our attention to interstitials. As I saw a few slides ago, gamers, they do not have the best opinion of interstitial ads. It is as simple as that. The main complaints we got from players is that these ads can be really disruptive, and in the words of some of the gamers we interviewed, they described it as just being really annoying. This is why we recommend you serve interstitial ads within natural breaks of the game and keep them at low frequency. After level completion and player-based pauses in the game are typically a good fit for interstitial ads, but definitely avoid serving them, for example, during the app loading and exit screens, so you're just delaying the user from either starting or exiting the game, while users are completing a task. So if the ad is shown between steps to complete a task, the expected and natural reaction of the player is to dismiss the ad almost immediately. And also avoid user flows that will surprise the user and lead to accidental clicks. This will lead to a bad user experience, so the player is just going to be taken out of the game and into a landing page without intending to do so. And this type of interaction with the ad also offers zero advertiser value. So please avoid these situations. Let's turn our attention now to rewarded video. As we saw before, gamers have a really positive opinion on rewarded video. But why is this? So rewarded video is an ad type that, in a way, puts players in control, as it gives them the choice to watch an ad in exchange for a reward within the game. It is user-initiated, so they opt in for this ad format, and our research has shown that players really like the ability to gain additional benefits in the game without having to wait or spend any real money in the game. So if you are planning on adding rewarded video to your game, or even revisiting a current integration, I would invite you to consider these 3 points. First, we have descriptive entry point. So give the user and the player a clear understanding of the value proposition that is taking place in the game. You need to clearly establish what the player is giving, which is their time and their attention as they watch the video, and receiving, which is the reward. If this is communicated clearly, the player can be more receptive to the ad experience, and the more receptive they are, the more likely they are to interact with the ad in a positive and meaningful way. Then we have quality ad experience, and what does this mean? Design your ad experience in a way that reduces accidental clicks, which in the context of rewarded video means unintentional video starts. Accidental clicks or unintentional video starts will have a bad impact on the user experience, and they will be less likely to interact with the ad in a positive way. And finally, we have informative messaging. We believe that it is really important to keep the player informed of what is going to happen and what has happened. When the player completes watching the video, present them with a reward, but also thank them for watching the video. This will reinforce the value exchange proposition in a positive way. On the other hand, if you're going to reject the reward because the players, for example, exit the video midway and did not complete watching the video, then let them know as well. A simple message like "no reward, you did not complete watching the video" will inform the user why they are not getting the reward and what needs to change in their behavior the next time they opt in for rewarded video and want to receive a reward. Now, I wanted to show you some rewarded video integrations and entry points that we have compiled over the years from working with our gaming partners. These integrations have proven to be very successful, not only from a monetization standpoint, but also for preserving and in some cases, even enhancing the player experience. This list is by no means extensive, but hopefully will inspire some of you to develop your own creative entry points for rewarded video for your games. Before I get started, I just wanted to let you know that all of the following integrations that I'm going to present are included in a white paper we recently published on best practices for rewarded video. You can access it for free on our website. Just go to facebook.com/audience network, search rewarded video in the search box, and this will be one of the first results. I strongly advise you to read this white paper if you are either enjoying and finding some value in today's presentation. Okay, so let's get started. The first integration that I have here is the daily reward multiplier. So if your game already rewards players for returning to your game, for example, on a daily basis, there is an opportunity here to offer the player the option to increase or even multiply the reward by watching a video ad. This entry point allows you to reach and potentially monetize every active player that you have. And at the same time, we've heard feedback from some of our publishers that this can help with retention, as it provides that extra incentive for players to return to the game on a regular basis. Then we have the in-app store. So if your game already has an in-app store or you're thinking of adding one to your game, this is a very natural and easy addition to the user interface. It should be targeted to non-paying players, but it can also act as an introduction for these players to the concept of in-app purchases within your game. We do recommend that you limit the number of times that you offer this entry point, not to cannibalize any potential future in-app purchases, and that the value of the reward or the bonus from the rewarded video is significantly smaller than what is offered in in-app purchases. Third, we have the home screen entry point. Because of its location, this is a very high visibility and high reach entry point. And for this reason, it typically leads to very high volumes of impressions. This is the one entry point where you might want to apply just a little bit of extra effort in putting in practice some of the points I mentioned before, like the descriptive entry point and the informative messaging, as this could very well be that some players are exposed to rewarded video either within your game or in general in mobile gaming. Next, we have the out of lives. I think this is one of the most popular rewarded video entry points, and even as players ourselves, I think we've all been there. You're playing a level, suddenly you're out of moves or lives, and you're thinking, oh, with a couple more extra moves, I would definitely solve it, but you're out of moves, and there it is. Those precious extra moves or extra life within your reach in exchange for watching a video ad. So because of this reason, this entry point has a very high temptation factor and typically sees a very high opt-in rate. We do recommend that you limit the number of times that you offer this in a game session or during a certain period of time, as suppressing this may lead users to explore and invest in in-app purchases. We're almost halfway. So number 5, we have decreased wait time. So a lot of mobile games these days ask the players to wait a certain amount of time in order to get access to extra lives or energy, for example. With this entry point, you can offer the option to either bypass the wait time completely, or even to reduce it by half, for example, and reduce the time that the players need to wait to get access to the extra lives, energy, or any other features. Number 6 would be in-game hints. In theory, this entry point can be used in any kind of game, but we found it is particularly well suited for puzzle and word games. In exchange of watching a video ad, you can give players access to a special clue or hint that may help them solve that extra tough level or puzzle that they are stuck on. This can even lead to increased retention in the game, as you may be helping players who are completely stuck in a level and almost ready to abandon the game to solve the puzzle and continue playing your game and get access to new levels. Then we have the Powerup or Booster reward. So in this entry point, you can offer players a power-up or a booster or any kind of bonus that will help them proceed in a level. And this could be used before or even during a level in exchange of watching a video ad. So this power-up can help players complete a level more easily and continue progressing through the game. As an option, you can also limit this offer to the most challenging levels of sections within the game. And then finally, we have the end of game multiplier. So if your game is structured in levels that offer the player a score or a rating at the end, give the player the option to increase the rating by watching a video ad, for example. We've also heard from some partners that this can also be used to offer the player the chance to see or get tips on how to get a better score for that level, so that they can retry it and achieve that perfect score that they want. So we're almost at the end. These were the rewarded video integrations that I wanted to share with you. Before we open to Q&A, a final thought to wrap up this presentation. At Facebook, we have seen many successful ad integrations from our partners that drive high revenue while preserving a great player experience. What they all have in common is that the most successful ad integrations are planned from early stages in game development. We've heard that publishers test different approaches internally during game development and prior to the game release, but even after the game is launched, it is vital to continue testing and iterating. Once you make changes to a live game, I know you will be monitoring closely the effect on revenue, as you should, but also remember to continue to listen to your audience, the players. When you make any significant changes to the ad experience, make sure that you listen to their feedback, either in App Store reviews, social media, forums, or any other channel, to make sure that you achieve not only the desired results in ad revenue, but also preserving a great user experience and overall satisfaction with the game. Thank you. So we are going to move on to questions. I think we have a few questions already.
Thanks, Antonio. Hi, everyone. Just a quick reminder, you can send us questions through the chat. And before we get started with the Q&A, we just wanted to mention that there's a post-webinar survey that we'd like you to fill out. It's just 3 questions. If you can just quickly share your feedback, we'll be able to tailor the content for the next few webinars. Thank you. Cool. So let's get started with a few of these questions. The first one that we're going to answer is, how does Facebook Audience Network perform on rewarded video compared to other networks? So based on feedback that we've got from our gaming partners, Audience Network is typically very strong performing in terms of CPMs and fill rates. And this is in the first position of the waterfall, especially in Tier 1 countries. We see lower demand regions also have really high fill rates, as we have access to 7 million advertisers from Facebook. So we invite you to read some of the case studies we have on our website that will give you more flavor of what you can see with Audience Network.
Oh, here's a really great one. We've got a really technical question coming through about best practices for pre-crashing rewarded video ads and how many you should cache. That's a really open-ended question, actually. So with rewarded video on the Facebook Audience Network SDK, we have it set up to auto cache the video, and that gets downloaded when you make the request for an ad. We then ensure with the SDK that the video is 100% cached before we allow you to show it. So in answer to the how many should I cache question, I think it's very much up to the game and how many entry points you have and how active your users are in terms of their journey through the game and how many rewarded videos they are selecting to play. Typically, we would say to use your best judgment, but many games would only cache 2 to 3 at any one time. If you cache too many, you could run into situations where the memory on the device is full up. So we would advise you not to go ahead and cache 6 plus or even more. That would be probably a bad idea.
Awesome. Jumping to the next question. How many rewarded video ads should I serve in my game? This again would really depend on the game. We would say review the best points firstly in the game to show the rewarded video ad as in consideration of the entry points that Antonio went through, and allow users to opt into this format. Do not force the view. And automatically you have a capped number of impressions that the user will see. But on top of that, we would recommend frequency capping these because you do not want the value of the reward to be diminished. Cool. Should we throw the next one to Antonio?
Yes, do we have one? So yeah, so we have a new question. So someone sent the question that my fill rate on rewarded video is very low. How can I improve it? It is a bit difficult to answer this question without having access to the full data. But what I will highlight, I think, the 2 main reasons why this could be happening. So the first one, and more likely, is if you have set up, and we do recommend setting up CPM targets, it might be that the CPM target is too high for particular countries or regions, and that is blocking some of the demand that we have for rewarded video. We recommend, if you have a particular country that is particularly strong, that you want to isolate with a high CPM, then create a separate CPM target rule, and then group other countries where the CPM that you desire is lower, because otherwise the combination of the two regions with high CPM might lead to blocking some of the demand due to the very high CPM target. The other but least common reason is that we are only able to serve ads to Facebook users. So there are a few regions in the world where Facebook penetration is a bit smaller. So you might see for some countries like Russia, for example, or Japan, a slightly lower fill rate than, say, a country like the US, the UK, or Spain, for example. So I hope this helps you answer your question. Do we have another one?
I think this one's got Alistair's name on it.
Okay.
We have a question that's come in that says, my show rate is very low. How can I improve it? What's normal? That probably comes back around to caching again. If you've requested a lot of ads that have been filled, you've then cached them, but then not shown them to a user, then you're going to end up with a low show rate. This is entirely on the publisher's side, and it's these are controls that you have to set. So if you want your show rates to go up, then we would recommend requesting fewer ads. Just a quick reminder that if we don't get to any of your questions that you've asked through the question panel, we'll be able to answer them after the webinar, and we'll follow up by email.
Do we have a third question now?
We have some more.
Okay.
They're coming in quite fast.
All right. So yes, someone asked the question regarding this one. What is the best way to A/B test different ad setups? I presume that this refers to showing different number of ads to different users, or testing with some users one ad integration versus another. So I think this depends a little bit on your mediation that you use and your capabilities. So if you can split traffic, for example, like 50% in one ad setup and 50% in another kind of ad integration, this is the ideal. So with Audience Network, at least, you would create two distinct and different placements, and half of the traffic would go to placement 1, the other half go to placement 2. It's important that this is a random allocation of traffic, so there's nothing else that could influence the results. If you do not have the capability, and this happens a lot, we hear, to do this random split of traffic, the best option is to do pre and post tests. So run one integration or one ad setup for maybe 2-3 weeks, then run the other one and compare the post and the pre and post results. Avoid and keep an eye on external factors like high seasonality periods that might influence the results. So if the pre-test was during a quiet period of the year and the post is around Easter time where there's more demand for ads, avoid that, because you're likely to see to not get the true results because of the influence of seasonality and higher demand for ads.
Awesome. We have another question here that says, any idea how the actual ad conversion can be influenced from a game developer perspective? So we do have quite a few best practices, and Antonio ran through some of them. But in general, across our interstitial, native, banner, and rewarded video formats, we really ask that you always optimize for the best user experience. Don't force a user to watch or click on an ad, and really allow them to have the ad experience be part of the app or game experience. And in this way, it really allows them to optimize for conversions.
So there's another question that's just come in. It says, can we have control on which apps, games is our ad being shown? So I think that relates to like advertiser side and targeting a given app. That's not something that we offer through Audience Network, but from the publisher side, you're allowed to choose which advertisers end up being in your app. So you would use the monetization manager interface to proactively go and block any games or pages that you don't want advertising within your app itself. So yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Thank you, Alistair. We're getting a few more questions, just going a bit through these. Okay. Yeah, so someone submitted a question that says, I've seen a countdown of rewarded ads, like watching 20 ads to unlock a special item. What is your opinion on that? This is a very easy answer question. My opinion is don't do it. I think this is a terrible user experience. This is not how rewarded video is meant to be used. And at least in Audience Network, we do have a team that monitors some of the ad experiences. So if one of our publishers, regardless of who they are, does get caught with some of these practices, or that there's some kind of incentive, monetary incentive to click or interact with the ad, you will get a warning and potentially be excluded from the network. So no from a policy standpoint, and an even bigger no from a user experience, because forcing someone to watch 20 ads to unlock something just doesn't sound to me the best experience you can have in your game. Okay, so another question, how does seasonality affect on your ads? The short answer is quite a lot, actually. So because we use the same demand from like we mentioned, all the Facebook advertisers, we do see in certain periods of the year a much higher demand for ads, and the higher the demand, the more dense the auction is because there are more people trying to advertise and get access to a certain audience, and the more competition. This is a healthy kind of ecosystem, so it drives the CPMs up. So we know the obvious ones, Christmas, Easter, etc., that we see quite a big impact on that. We also tend to see on Audience Network, and you might have noticed this before, that the end of the month, like the last week, is also particularly good in terms of CPMs and revenue. You know, there's a lot of campaigns that end at from the advertiser side at the end of the month that are just kind of rushing to spend all the budget. So that also sees a little bit of an uplift at the end of each month.
Okay, we're going to have one last lucky question that we go through. This one's about casual games and how many impressions per day should be shown. We've seen a lot of good examples and bad examples within the casual gaming category and how publishers especially use the interstitial ad format. We really recommend having an ad frequency cap on these because if you show too many ads per user per day, the user's retention is going to be hurt as well as their experience within the game. You do not want to have your game be identified with a bad user experience. So really keep this in mind in thinking about the user. Try and put yourself in the user's shoes to actually review the game and understand how many ads a day you would see. There's no hard number that we can really share. It depends on the game and how many user sessions you see within a day. Take all of this into account. Again, we have lots of material available to you on our website, so please feel free to access this to understand more.
Thank you very much, Anala. We are almost out of time. There's 1 minute left. Time does fly when you're having fun. So thank you very much for joining us today, for staying with us, for asking all these interesting questions. Just as a wrap up, so some of you might not be able to see the option to integrate rewarded video from a monetization manager, as we are still sometimes limiting the number of publishers that can access the product. But if you are interested in accessing rewarded video and you currently don't see the option, please just drop us a quick email with the name of your company, your business or app ID that you get from MoMA, and the apps that you want to monetize, and send it to EMEA Pub SMB, that's EMEA PUB SMB @fb.com. And someone from our team will be in touch and advise if we can enable it for you or not. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anala and Alistair.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your day and your Valentine's Day.